Hey guys, I'm a head coach at Legends Boxing, and today we're going to be talking about hooks. First thing that I want to start doing whenever I'm trying to work on any of those punches is I'm actually going to take it to the mirror and start shadow boxing, okay? So first thing Cassie and I are going to do is we're going to get into our boxing stance. I've got that left shoulder forward, right shoulder back. We're both orthodox, okay? And for us here at Legends, that means my lead side hook is coming off of that left hand, okay? And then my 8 or my trail side hook is coming off of that trail side. Now, one of the first things that I watch for when we're starting to prep for these hooks is how bladed I am in my boxing stance, okay? I want to make sure as I do this that I'm not square, right? My hips and my shoulders aren't making a square facing straight forward. Instead, I've got one shoulder forward, one shoulder back, and I'm up in that nice guard. Once I'm in this position, right, then we can start working on that hook, okay? So when I'm first learning this hook, I wanna make sure that I get that kind of arm positioning down before I go anywhere else, right? So if I'm working with Cassidy, what we're going to do is we're gonna take our arm all the way up, okay? Things I want to look for, I want to make sure that my elbow and my palm create like a flat level line, right? I'm level with the ground when I throw this hook. So I come right up off to the side, and then I've got a fixed angle right here in my elbow, okay? I don't want to start kind of swinging back and forth with that arm. I want to make sure that elbow is locked in that static hold, okay? And then from there, we can start working on the rotation, which is ultimately where I get my power from. So when I'm throwing that lead side hook, that 3, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate over on that front heel and turn off to the side just like that, okay? Common mistakes that you'll see with that 3 and with your 8 is I'll end up kind of rotating too far past my body, right? So if I've got Cass working with me here, if I end up throwing too far past my body, right, I rotate too much on that front foot, I'm not really in my boxing stance anymore. I'm not in a good position to throw that right hand, right? I'm also not getting that hand back to my face very quickly. So what I always advise people to do is stop that hook on that cheek, right? So as soon as I would get up to that cheek, that's where I'm stopping that hook, coming right back to my chin. So rotate through, right back to my chin every time, okay? So we're throwing what's called an American style hook, and that means that my thumb is up. It's not a European style hook. I don't have my thumb off to the side, okay? The nice thing about this is if somebody's in that nice high guard, you're coming right past that guard, okay? So I'm coming past that guard off to the side. It also works really well for those body shots, which we'll get into a little bit later. The next thing I want to start looking for is that dip in my legs, okay? When we're boxing, whenever I'm throwing any of these punches off the inside, I don't want my legs to be straight, right? I don't have any ability to generate power, any ability to generate any kind of upward force. So now when I get ready to throw that 3, I'm dipping in those legs just a little bit, and then I'm going to come up and turn over off to that side, okay? So almost like a sprinter getting ready to kind of run, boosting off of that back heel. I'm doing that same thing with my 3. So I've got that little bit of a dip, come up and rotate through. A little bit of a dip, up, rotate through every single time with that thumb still facing up, that American style hook, okay? Now, it doesn't really matter when we're throwing our 3s and our 8s. A lot of these ideas are the same. So now when I move into that 8, that trail side hook, I still have to do the same things. I still have to rotate all the way through. I still want my palm and my elbow making a line that's level with the floor, and I still want to make sure that I'm not coming too far past my face, right? When I do that, I'm not in my boxing stance. Same ideas with that 3. Okay, so we're rotating all the way through, coming right back, all right? And then we can add just that extra little bit at the end where we start to add just that dip in our legs. I've got that nice bend in my legs, straighten out as I come back for that hook, right back to that guard as soon as I'm done. Now that Cassie's in front of this heavy bag right here, when she throws her 3, right, the same rules still apply. So she's got that little bit of a bend, she's rotating all the way over, perfect. Just like that as she's doing that. Perfect. And you can see it, her arm is coming all the way up level and her thumb is facing up, still throwing that American style hook. So she's coming right up and over. Perfect. Awesome. And this is where we can start to kind of pay closer attention and start to kind of play with some of these dials when we're throwing these hooks, right? Cassie, what happens if you bend a little more in those legs before you throw that 3? Awesome. Perfect. And then beginner mistake, make sure that you're always breathing. Cassie, add that breath. Good. Awesome. So now as she's rotating through for that punch, right, we can start to make little modifications and piece in exactly how far we need to bend into that hook in order to generate just a little bit more power. So now let's go over head movement with these hooks. Now this is quite an in-depth topic, but we're gonna be going over some really basic ways to kind of go about this, okay? So now that we've got this heavy bag in the picture, we're going to start with our slips. Rather than starting with something like a roll, which we'll get into a little bit later, I think slips are the easiest way for us to start, okay? And the nice thing about this is it works out really organically when you're in front of somebody, right? If I've got Cassie in front of me right here, if I just threw my cross, right, she'll slip out of the way, stay on the outside of my body, and then she's got space to line up that hook, move in off of that, line up that hook off to the side, okay? When we're doing this on the heavy bag, I still want to be balanced on those feet, okay? But I'm going to get positioned in front of that heavy bag to where I'm right up on top of that bag, right nice and close, okay? Now when I slip, I'm going to take a look right off to the side of the bag and then even right back out and come back up with my hook, okay? So now, just like we were slipping on that heavy bag, if you're slipping, dipping down, coming up, now I come down and I come up with that hook, all right? Now we can generate more power, still utilizing those legs as we're coming up from that slip. Okay, now let's get into our rolls. Rolls are really, really fun when we start throwing these hooks into play as well, okay? So remember, anytime that we're rolling, right, I'm dropping straight down, coming up to one side. So if I'm rolling toward my lead side, Cass, let's see it, I'm going to drop down, come up toward my lead side. Same idea, off toward that trail side. So we're going to drop down, go off toward that trail side, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to throw our hook when we come up. Okay, so just like in our example up front, where we're talking about that critical bend in our legs, where we're straightening out, now we're capitalizing on that same thing when we come up. So I'm going to drop down, come up, and throw that hook. Okay, just like that, doing that same thing off toward the trail side as well. All right, so we're going to do this on the heavy bag as well. Okay, so she's positioned in front of this bag. We're going to say 3, roll 3. Good, just like that, right? She's coming up from that roll, on her way up from that roll. That's when she's getting ready to release that hook. Same thing also applies for that 8. All right, you guys, perfect. Now that's how we can start perfecting our hooks, starting with that mirror, some shadow boxing, then we can take it over to a heavy bag and start adding a little bit more power, playing with some of these dials, mixing in combos, right? We can start to really have some fun with it. Make sure if you guys have any more suggestions for videos, you leave a comment down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.